Welcome to Daily Confidence for Entrepreneurs. In this episode, we're going over how to prepare for a sales call. How does confidence play a role in selling, and how you can develop your confidence, how to react when someone says no to you, and you will watch yours truly get exposed and coached by Jen Gitomer. My guest today is Jen Gitomer. Welcome, Jen.
Thank you.
Good to see you. And we're talking about selling with confidence, which is an important thing. A lot of people lack confidence in sales. And we're going to talk about that today. It's going to be an interesting conversation. Now, you know how a lot of people leave money on the table, multiple 6 or 7 figures, because they don't do their follow-ups that they're supposed to?
Yes.
I have put together a checklist on the blueprint to simple follow-up formula on how to fix your follow-up problem. So if you wanted that, put the word, if you're watching or listening, put the word follow up as a comment on whichever channel you're watching, and we'll send you the link to download the checklist. Now, let me do the proper introduction to Jen Gitomer, and we're going to dive into a very interesting conversation, and I really look forward to this. Jen Gitomer is obsessed with helping service-based professionals, coaches, and entrepreneurs make more money. After selling millions of dollars throughout her 15 plus years career in sales and growing 3 businesses, she knows exactly what it takes to grow your business from surviving to thriving. Jennifer co-hosts the Sell or Die podcast with her husband, Jeff Gitomer, and hosts the Breakthrough Babe podcast herself. She has written a best-selling book called Sales in a New York Minute, containing 212 pages of real-world, easy-to-implement sales strategies. Her mission is to help entrepreneurs create time and financial freedom. In her spare time, you'll find Jen playing tennis or hanging out with her husband, stepdaughter, and Cavalier King Charles' children, and her family. Welcome, Jen.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Great to have you. How's your day so far?
So far, so good, but even better now that we're hanging out and doing this live.
Likewise. And where about are you, Jen?
At the moment, I am in outside of Charleston, South Carolina, at one of the beaches here in the Low Country.
Loving it. What's the weather like?
Well, today is rainy and gloomy, which makes for a beautiful day on the beach, believe it or not.
So it's not too hot.
No, it's not. It's like 85 today.
Nice. Nice. So let's dive into it. Jen, what is your story?
I started selling at the age of 5, not even realizing that was selling. I was bored going to the supermarket every weekend with my grandma. So I would sit outside and make bracelets, and then people would start buying them from me. And I learned a really valuable lesson at age 5, which was people didn't want my stuff. They wanted their stuff, meaning if I thought blue and pink were really cute together, but they wanted orange and purple because that was their team color, it didn't matter that I thought blue and pink were cute. You know, what mattered was what they thought, the customer's perception. And so I learned that at a very young age, you have to sell what they want or what they feel they need. And so people would give me a few dollars, and then I'd come back the next week with their bracelet made, ready to go. And then just had all this confidence from selling because I had this association that if you offer something that someone wants, they'll buy it. And I made that assumption because it happened to me. I had evidence of it. And so I progressed throughout my career. I sold Cutco knives. I worked for an educational software company for 6.5 years. I ran a program in my college that was very heavily revolved around sales, and eventually went out on my own to start my own business, helping salespeople and entrepreneurs all over the world. Because at the company I was with for 6.5 years, I was impacting, the 150 people in the sales division. But what I really wanted to do was be able to help millions of people all over. And so then that's when I wrote this book, Sales in a New York Minute. and started my journey into entrepreneurship. And that was 2013. So I've been doing this for quite some time now.
Now I see why 212 is there. 212 is the area code for New York, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Got it. So that's a very interesting story. Selling bracelets at the age of, were you literally 5 years old and you were making and selling them?
Yeah.
Like,
I would set up a little
how did that
table
work?
and
Like,
a
you were on
chair
the sidewalk, or
outside the supermarket. And they
you
didn't
had
kick
like
me out
your
or
own
anything.
setup and you just set them all the bracelets and people would buy them?
Like Girl Scouts, but I was young and my grandma would be grocery shopping and I would be making bracelets and selling them.
Oh my, you were not shy to do it?
You know, it's surprising. I was not. People would come over to me and ask me what was going on, and I would say, I can make you a bracelet. Give me money.
Was it, you didn't make it like a specific amount? You're just like giving money?
I think it was like $4 or $5. I don't really remember. It wasn't like, I wasn't asking for the farm. I was just,
Interesting. Because I've been trying to get my son, who is 6 years old, to go sell lemonades in front of our garage, and he's like, no, I'm not doing it. So I've been trying to convince him to do it.
Well, he
But that's
needs
a
a
good age
why.
to
He needs a
start.
purpose. He needs, if he
Yes.
wants something that you won't give him, but he knows he can get it by making money, he might want to sell that lemonade.
Oh, you know what? He wants a PlayStation. I could probably get him to do that. Because
There
he
you go.
loves saving money. He has like $600 to his name, and sometimes I'm like, "You're richer than I am" on some days, and then what's it called? But I tried to tell him, to convince him to go sell so he can make more money. He's like, "But I already have $600." I'm like, "That didn't work." And so I'm gonna play the PlayStation game and see if I can get him to sell enough lemonades to go buy a PlayStation.
Perfect.
Before the summer is over. So but that's a great point. Like, to your point, give them what they want.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the under lesson for me right now is that if the first thing that I offered he didn't want it, I could probably go back and make another offer.
Right.
And for a guy that runs a follow-up business,
Right. Exactly.
Follow up a different offer.
And even ask, what do you want? Right.
Yeah, I can ask. That's another, I made another mistake over the weekend with him, and that was, we went camping, and we were just like half an hour away from our house, and I assumed that he wanted his bike. Without asking him, I drove back to the house because I saw a bunch of other kids riding their bikes. I'm like, he probably wants his bike too. Drove back to the house, took his bike there, and he didn't even care that the bike was there. And I'm like,
oh no,
I probably should have asked him before driving for an hour and a half. I was trying to surprise him, but going back to the ask for what they want, that would be useful. So what do you do these days, and who do you serve?
So I serve entrepreneurs, mostly with service-based businesses, coaches, course creators, people selling things online, like services like copywriting, photography, that kind of stuff, branding, social media, and I help them make more money. It's really that simple. We look at what's getting in the way of making the money you deserve, and then oftentimes it's money mindset, sometimes it's sales strategy, sometimes it's a combination of both, and we really dig in and assess the problem and then go after it.
For sure. Gang, if you're watching or listening to the show right now, feel free to put in any questions or comments that you have about sales and confidence. If you have any questions for Jen or me, put it in there and we'll do our best to cover your questions. And so love what you're doing with respect to sales and helping people make more money. That is, that's the number one thing that I guess people need these days, is to sell more and make more money. That's what we're all in business right now.
That's right.
Let me start with the lack of confidence, because that's what we do. Why do you think people, let's start with this. Why do people hate to sell? What's the deal with that?
Well, a lot of people have had a negative experience with someone else who sold. And that person that they were interacting with maybe came off as salesy, maybe lied about what it is that they were offering. They said something was better than it actually was, or whatever it may be. And they're allowing oftentimes that negative experience that they had with someone else who was maybe not as well-intentioned as they are to impact their outcome. So, you know, it doesn't make sense, right? When you think about it logically, like I had this bad experience when I was 16 with a salesperson in a boutique, but if that meant I never sold again, or then like how many people would I have not been able to impact because I didn't put my offer out there? I think another thing that happens is depending on what you're selling, sometimes it's easier to sell someone else's stuff than your own stuff if you're a personal brand business, because there's a confidence factor when you're a personal brand business that now you're selling yourself, you're selling your name, you're selling your reputation, you're selling the tangible outcomes that you can create for someone else. And you're like, you have to have a lot of confidence in order to put it out there.
For sure. I like your comment about like starting with someone else's products. Like if you're not comfortable selling your own, because it's easier to sell someone else's product, especially if it's established, they've got the pricing, the packaging, the description, the whole thing figured out. They give you the training, you go in there and you kind of master the sales skill, and then you go into your own business and do your sales like easier and faster. That's the route that I took, I guess.
Yeah, and me too. I think, there's, at least when I got older, and there's a key ingredient that plays a direct role into confidence, and that is belief. And so when I was selling Cutco knives, and have you ever been sold? Has anyone ever tried to sell you Cutco knives?
A lot.
Okay, these are the best knives on the planet. I haven't sold them in over 2 decades, and I still believe that they're the best knives on the planet. They are sharper than most knives, which actually means you have less of a chance of hurting yourself because you don't have to like push really hard. You have more precision with what you're doing. They have a forever guarantee. They'll be around forever. I could give you a million reasons why they're the best in my mind, right? That belief is so deep that 2 decades later, I'm still telling you that, and I make no commission, no money from them whatsoever. So you have to ask yourself, how deep is your belief in your product or service? How deep is your belief in whatever it is you're selling? Because that belief is what gets transferred in every conversation. And it's not something you show up and say, hey, I believe in this thing, so I think you should buy it. That belief is there's a silent transfer. It either gets transferred because you have that strong belief, or it doesn't get transferred. And when it doesn't get transferred, it comes off as though you have no confidence or not a lot of confidence in the product or service. If the confidence isn't there, why would someone buy? Right? So I believe that belief is one of the key ingredients to beginning to develop that confidence in whatever it is you're selling.
Okay, so gang, if you're watching or listening, a question that you could actually write down right now and perhaps answer it today is, how deep is my belief in my product or service?
Mm-hmm.
And start answering that question and write as much as possible, because that one piece is going to drive it's going to be the foundation for your sales and marketing, right? I'm actually going to do this today. So the stuff that I talk about, I'm going to do it today. So,
you want the next level of that?
Absolutely.
Okay. So the first part is, how deep is my belief in my product or service? The second piece is, how deep is your belief in yourself? So once you, or your company, right? Once you deliver on that product or service, how deep is your belief? Let's say you're going to be their contact person, in your ability to serve them, or your company's ability to serve them if it's being handed off to someone else, because that's going to play a role in this silent communication transfer as well. And then, how much do you believe that the customer is better off having purchased from you. So after they buy, how much do you believe that they're better off? Because that's going to make the difference. If you believe that they're better off, then you're going to do everything in your power to help them buy. But if you don't believe that they're going to be better off, what's the point? It's going to feel sleazy, salesy, icky, uncomfortable. And that's why people don't sell, when they don't believe or don't have that deep belief that the customer is better off.
Absolutely. So, a couple more questions. How deep is my belief in myself? And that could, I guess, to me, it could cover a variety of questions about my ability, about my mindset, about around sales, and the rest of it. And then, how much are they better off after buying from me?
Mm-hmm.
So, amazing questions. They're in the comments below, gang. Grab it, copy paste it into a notepad or a Word document or whatever you're watching, and literally spend some time, 1 hour, 2 hours a day, thinking about this, answering questions, and it's going to make a difference. So, what's the next step? Let's say that I've answered these questions, and then in my mind, I think that I'm very confident. Only when it comes to picking up the phone, I go, I don't feel it like.
So you have to ask yourself why. Like, if you believe that the customer is better off having, I'm selling this water bottle, and I believe that if you have this water bottle, you're gonna be so much better off. Why would I rob you of the ability to have this water bottle because I'm too scared to pick up the phone? Well, maybe because it's really awkward if I don't know you and I'm calling you out of the blue and I'm like, "Hey, Mostafa, I want to bother you." And I'm sure you're not busy now doing 100 million other things, right? Because you were just waiting on my call of this person you don't know. And I want to tell you all about this water bottle. You're going to be like, "What?" If you even pick up my phone call. And
Yeah.
so the point there is, I think people get stuck because they have nothing of value to say, or they haven't thought of, if I were the potential customer, what would be valuable to them right now? So you can't just in my opinion, you can't just pick up the phone and expect that the other person is going to have any care in the world about what you're offering if you don't have something of value to say. And oftentimes that begins with a little gentler of an outreach, perhaps on LinkedIn or somewhere on social media, where you can begin to form that relationship, so that when you do pick up the phone, it's not uncomfortable. It's like they already kind of know who you are because you've been
Yeah.
showing up in their world.
Yeah. They'll be like, "You're the guy who's been bugging me on LinkedIn." What's up? Like, there is some sort of but all the jokes aside, they like, when you do that, they know there's context for calling. Or if you send them a letter up front, send them a couple of letters, and then a week or two later you call them, then you're like, "Hey, did you get my message? I'm calling about that." And so,
Right. And you want to be perceived as someone who offers value, not someone who's just calling to check in, calling to sell you something, right? You want to be perceived as a person of value. And so that means you have to offer things that are valuable. So maybe if I'm selling the water bottle, then you might need to know about how important drinking water is, what it can do. And I know you're a business person, so what it can do for your energy levels throughout the day, and how it will help you live longer. I know you're a dad, how it will help you live longer and be with your family more, and all the benefits and all the things it will help you with. And so I need to find ways to get this information in front of you to offer value that it may help you in some way.
Can we have a coaching moment here?
Yes, let's do it.
All right. So I think, I could be wrong, that I'm not articulating the benefits of what we do as a call center specializing in follow-ups well enough on my sales calls. Let me
Okay.
just pull up what I do say so that we can work on it. How about that?
Let's do it. This can be fun.
This is going to be fun. So here's kind of the flow that we. So what I do is I ask questions for 15-20 minutes to understand them. On a 30-minute call, they talk for 20 minutes. I talk for about 10 or 5 minutes, just to make sure I understand them perfectly, and then I can match to what their problem is and what's going on in their life. Then I go over how the calls could be made to events, existing past customers, all the lead magnets, lost proposals, or different type of campaigns that we do, which is going to result in appointments, referrals, orders and sales, and critical feedback from customers. And then those are going to create recurring revenue, higher profits, happier customers, increasing the lifetime value of the customers. Now, I could already see that I'm not clearly stating the benefits. I'm probably doing some already, but I feel that I'm not explaining the benefits well enough.
So what are, like, I think, okay, so this goes back to our very conversation in the beginning. It didn't matter if I liked blue and pink bracelets. What mattered was what colors they wanted on their bracelet, right?
Right.
So you can have 20 benefits, but what matters is what they care about. In fact, if you list all the benefits, you might lose them because they only care about this one particular thing. So give me an example of some, like, you talk for the 20 minutes up front about with the client about what their needs are. Like, what's an issue? Give me a specific example of a client and what they're facing.
Specific client, they have a list of about 7,000 people. They don't have a salesperson. The list is being ignored, and they are trying to generate leads, spending money on new lead gen while totally ignoring their existing leads and the existing list. And they don't have the time, the manpower, and the systems to follow up.
Okay, now, what is the benefit they would get from working with you?
Getting appointments, getting referrals, right? We talk to their team, and then getting feedback from their existing customers, depending on who we talk to, and they could reflect that feedback, whether positive or negative, to fix stuff inside their company.
Would they also be saving money because they're calling on the existing people now that they've already spent money getting into their sphere?
100%.
So I would, rather than tell them what these benefits are, is I would ask them questions that help them get to the same thought process that helps them uncover that those are the benefits. Like, okay, so Mr. Jones, what's it costing you to have this list of 7,000 people and be spending time nurturing them, considering all the cost it took to get these leads? What do you think is the overall cost in terms of getting them, nurturing them, but then not truly following up to capitalize on the serving them part? What is that costing you in the long run? Like, how much is each client worth? Is each person on the list worth dollar value? Okay, so if each person is worth, I don't know, let's just say $100, that's $700,000 right there that we have not capitalized on, right? And okay, so by investing, I don't know what the cost is. I'm going to make up a number. By investing $3,000, I was going to say 5. Okay, so by investing 3, would you put 3 in to make 700,000? Well, yes. But you could also put 3 in to try and get new customers. But what's going to be the point of that if you're not actually getting the people who are on your list to buy from you?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, it's a never-ending cycle. If you constantly put the the money into getting people on the list, but then you're not putting the money into getting them from the list into your packages or your offers, well, then what's the point? And now they have to think about it, right? And so you're telling the benefits by asking them questions that help them understand what they are.
Love it. What's the point of getting new people if you're going to ignore them anyway?
Right. Or like, you know, or if you're gonna, maybe they don't even think they're ignoring them. Maybe they think they're nurturing them by sending the weekly email. But if that weekly email is not resulting into sales, they need a proven follow-up system in order to capitalize on the leads. And then that's where I would bring in a testimonial, like, or some sort of case study. Like, we were working with Rebecca, and she had a similar problem, similar list size, similar issue, and here's what her results were. And actually, she said I could share this. So I just wanted to show you, like, here's something she said.
Love it. How do you see being the benefit of outsourcing your follow-up, so that what's in it? What would be like a pain point that I should be talking about that I haven't mentioned so far?
Well, if they were going to follow up, and if they had a proven follow-up system and the person to do it, then they would already be doing it. Because there's so much money in the money is in the follow-up, right? So if you already have it, then you would already be doing it. So if you don't have it, then you need to go with a team that has the proven method and the results like yours. The other thing I would ask is, you know, we talked about this earlier also, like, it's so much harder to sell your own stuff, but your team has no attachment. They don't, you know, like they're selling a proven product. So they're not feeling like they have to sell themselves in any way.
Yeah.
Right. And because it's a proven product, they can more easily speak to that to the other people. They become an extension of the team. And it often makes it easier, and it takes it off that entrepreneur's or business owner's plate.
For sure. Love it. That was great. That was a great coaching moment.
Cool. That was fun.
That was fun. So talking about the benefits and asking questions. So the idea, what I learned here was to ask questions that would highlight the benefits, and laying out the benefits by asking questions versus being like, I'm awesome, I'm the best.
I promise.
I promise we're going to be the best. Pay me. Right? That's probably not going to work. Huh. And it's so much, you would probably be a lot more confident by asking questions versus just trying to lay out facts and talk about how awesome you are and how they should pay you to take care of them.
When you ask questions, you're in control of the conversation.
100%.
When you're just telling, you're not. And so when you ask questions, you're guiding the conversation to, I think of it like a labyrinth, and there's all these different paths to get from where you are to that other side. And in your mind, you have now uncovered what that other side is for them. And now you see the path, and now you have to help them get there. And I find that the best way to help them get there is to ask questions, because then they have to think, and then they have to come up with those answers versus you just telling them, here's the path. And then they're going to be like, well, let me try this other path, and let me try this other path. And there's like 600 different paths to get to the end. But what they don't know is many of them have those blocks, right? They're like, it's like a maze, right? And so you know the shortest path, but your job is really to use communication tools to ask so that they can get there themselves.
For sure. So the idea was to think about the path to go from here to there, from being a prospect to being a buyer, and you helping them fix their issue and the challenge or the problems that they're experiencing, and what's it going to take to go from here to there, and the rest of it. So which is a great segue to my next question, which is, how do we prepare for a sales call?
So your energy on a sales call is everything.
Okay.
I will sometimes drum or sing or dance or just like get moving, get some energy, get stuff like the stuck stuff out of my body. I know that sounds a little like woo, but the truth is that how you show up is going to be portrayed, whether it's on Zoom or on a phone call. They can hear it, they can feel it, they can see it. And so that piece of it, which most people don't talk about because they're going to say, okay, prepare in terms of them, read everything you can, see what they've been up to on social media, check out their LinkedIn, check out their website. Yeah, all of those are like known kind of things, right? You shouldn't get on a sales call if you don't know about them. But in addition to that, you have to prepare yourself. And here's the key thing. If the sales call doesn't go well and you have a bunch of sales calls lined up, then it can easily be a domino effect. So when I was selling Cutco knives, I would have to call my boss after every sales call. And I'm like, why do we have to keep checking in? Like, I'm like at 1099, like, promise I'm going to the next one. I told you I'd be going to. And one day I didn't sell the 8-piece block that I always went into. Like, I wanted to sell that 8-piece block every time. And I was pretty disappointed because I thought I was going to sell it to this family. And I got out of the meeting and I called my boss, Dave, and I said, okay, Dave, I didn't sell the block. He's like, okay, well, what happened? And I said, well, they already had knives. They didn't want to spend the money right now. They bought an ice cream scooper and they gave me 3 referrals. And he's like, okay, and you're still upset. I'm like, yeah, I didn't sell the 8-piece block. Like, I was really upset. He said, you need to move that energy. How are you going to do it? Here's 3 options. And I chose option C, which was to run around the block 3 times. I ran around and then I had to call him back. I ran around the block 3 times and I got it out of me. It's like kind of like a dog. You know, when a dog shakes it off? We don't do that as humans. When a kid has a temper tantrum, they're shaking it off. It's the same thing. So when we just let a failed sale or a failed call eat us up inside, it's very easy to have that impact the next call and then the next call and then the next call. That's what I mean by the domino effect, like the whole thing's falling down. So if one doesn't go well, you have to do the reset button on your energy. That means different things to different people. And at different points in my life, it's meant different things to me, how I reset, but you need to know what your reset button is.
So I've seen people selling Cutco knives at Costco here in Calgary. And sometimes I see a person standing behind that bar. I'm like, I am buying nothing from that person. Because they're just like, they're not inviting. The energy is just down and dead. I'm like, I can't talk to this person. Right. So it makes a huge difference. And like, what? So okay. Let me ask this question. There's the dead energy, and then there's the excited, too excited energy. There's like, hey, you want to buy a knife? You want to buy a knife? And you're all also running away. How do you balance your energy that is inviting, that is nice, and makes people want to do business with you?
I think about it as someone's coming into your home for dinner. You're not going to be like, oh my God, you've arrived. Thank you so much. It's like too much, right?
Yeah.
But you're going to welcome them in. And you're not going to be like, oh, you're here for dinner, right? Like, so we all know what that middle ground is. Mm-hmm. And it's just a matter of practicing it in other areas of your life and then becoming conscious of it so that when you go on a sales call, you are conscious of it. See, it's so natural when people come to our house because the outcome is clear. We want them to have a good time. We want to have a good time with them. We want them to have a good time. We want to enjoy each other's company, whatever it may be, right? That's the outcome. So when you think about a sales call and you think about what do I want the outcome to be? Well, it's not just about selling them. It's about creating a great selling environment. It's about showing up prepared. It's about being able to help them after the sale. And so then it's really a matter of honing in and practicing that energy in other areas of your life.
Love it. Love it. That energy piece is a big one. Like, here's on the fact. I know people who are not the greatest salespeople, like in terms of the techniques of selling, but because they have a good energy and good attitude, they're selling all day long.
Yeah, I believe it.
Right? You know,
Yeah.
look, for example, I know my grandpa, he didn't read a book in his life, but that guy was selling all day long. And he had a good energy. I guess he got it through practice. What's your take on that? Can we learn sales through reading?
You can learn sales strategy through reading, and
Okay.
reading is the right information, can be very effective, but it's like learning to swim. You can't learn to swim by reading a book. Okay. You
100%.
actually have to jump in the pool. Okay. It's the same thing with sales. You can't just read a book. It can supplement it, right? I can know, okay, when I get into the pool, I'm going to go like this, or I'm going to do the doggy paddle to stay above. Like, I can read those concepts, but it's not until I actually get in. And it's the same thing with sales. It's not until you actually get in the arena and begin to try and sell things to see what works and what doesn't work.
100%. We cannot read our way to success. Like, we have to practice. And speaking of confidence, the confidence piece comes out of, okay, so I think there's two parts. One is confidence coming from knowing the knowledge, like what to do. Yeah, I'm confident I know what to do. But then there's the second piece about confidence that you're like, I need to practice and become really good at it and become confident by practicing.
Yeah. So positive. Oh, sorry. Did I cut you off?
No.
Positive experiences start with knowing what to do, then putting it into practice. And then the positive experiences create that confidence. So what I alluded to at the beginning, like, I just assumed I was good at sales because I had always sold things. Well, if you feel like you've never sold things in your life, and now all of a sudden you're finding yourself in sales, and how are you going to be good at it? And you're not confident in it because you haven't done it before. Well, I bet you've sold something. Have you sold someone on going on a date with you? Have you sold your parents ever on getting that candy bar? Have you sold someone on giving you more allowance, right? Like, we're making sales every single day. It's just a matter of activating our brain to recognize that we're making those sales, and we have that experience from life. And now taking that over into like the sales arena where it's done for a living.
For sure. And you're kind of touching on my theory on why some people hate sales. My theory is that that's because we're all salespeople. People are selling all day long, whether they are convincing and persuading each other or they're exchanging money. That's my theory on why people don't like selling or being sold to. Some of them.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think also people have a hard time sometimes asking for money. Like, sometimes I have clients that'll come to me and they're like, I'm really good at helping people with life coaching or with their brand, but I just don't want to charge for it because I hate asking for the money. And it's like, when people pay, they pay attention. And,
For sure.
you can give something to someone for free, and the odds of them completing it, going through it, and utilizing it to the best of their ability are very low because they're not invested, literally. And so the minute people pay, they pay attention.
Absolutely. So let's say that we are prepping for our sales call. We go through the call, have the conversation, ask a bunch of questions, and then we do the presentation, and the customer says, this is a great idea. This is a great product. Let me talk to my wife and get back to you.
Okay.
What do we do then?
Okay. So here's the thing. Let's analyze this. They didn't say no, but they also didn't say yes yet. And do you want them to transfer the information to their wife where they're going to have to do the job of selling it? Or do you, the master salesperson, want to be able to deliver that information? And so if it were me, I would say, okay, great. That's awesome. I would love for your wife to be involved. Why don't the three of us get on a call? Why don't the three of us meet for coffee? Let's, you don't have to sell her. Why don't all of us connect? And this way, now you can hear what matters to her, because it's likely the person trying to sell their spouse isn't going to dig in to understand. They know what's important to them. That doesn't mean they're digging in to understand what's important to their spouse in order to make this decision. And as the salesperson, that's really your job. So it doesn't just happen with spouse, right? It happens like, oh, this is a really great, I have to bring this up at the board meeting and get a whole board of directors involved. And that's where I would say, awesome. When is the meeting? Could I attend and make a short presentation? Right. And now the way I look at it is, if you don't get the sale, figure out how you can get one step closer to the sale.
So then I'll be like, no, Jen, I really appreciate it. You don't have to do that. I'm going to take care of it. I'm going to chat with them.
So then I would play it out with you. Like, okay, so how do you think your wife will, what is your wife hoping for? What's important to her? And I would start to ask you the questions that I would want you to begin to uncover, kind of like I'm training you on how to have that conversation. Like, okay, well, Mostafa, let's play this out for a few minutes. Would that be all right? And most people are not going to say no. They're okay, sure. Okay, cool. So, well, what's important to your wife in making this decision? What really matters? What is she going to care the most about? Oh, well, she cares about the money, the bottom line. Okay, so then we have to come up with a way. How do we frame this to her to show her that the money makes sense?
Sure. That's what I'm asking them.
Yes. And maybe they have an answer for it and maybe they don't. And then you brainstorm with them to help them come up with a solution. Like, well, look, if you have this list of leads and you're doing nothing with it and you're about to go invest $6,000 to get more leads, wouldn't it make more sense to show your wife that you could spend half the money and get, results from what you already have? Oh, okay. And then I would try to think of some sort of analogy, because I always find that analogies make it easier for people to understand. And the right one is not coming to me on the spot right now. I like to think of these things a little bit in advance if I can, but maybe it's like you have all the apples in your kitchen, and rather than going out to buy more apples, you make apple pie with the ones that you have. I don't know. That's not quite it, but you know what I mean? Like, why waste the ones in your kitchen when you can make the best, most amazing apple pie you've got?
If you already have a pot to cook with, you're not going to buy new stuff because you already have it.
Right. Exactly. It's just sitting there.
Yeah. There was a analogy I saw someone making. Is like he said, when I was a kid, my dad would put some food on my dish, and I would always ask for more. And then he's like, my dad would be like, why don't you finish that first, and then I'll give you more.
Yes.
Right. And so the other thing is, like, if you haven't worked with what you already have, why are you looking for more? Because you're not gonna, deal with them anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So, Jen, what if this is just a cover up, and the guy he's just looking for an excuse to get out, right? Well, he doesn't want to say no. He's just like, oh, let me talk to my cousin and see what my cousin has to say about my life investment. No.
Well, then that means two things, right? One, they're not sold on the value, right, which means you didn't do your job to get them to understand the value. And you can take that as a learning lesson for the next person, so that you maybe, if you've recorded it, you can go back and watch and try to understand where you've lost them, or work with a coach to see, okay, why are they not, where am I? Take responsibility, right? Like, no, don't blame them for not understanding the value. It's your job to help them see it. So so if you take the responsibility, like, where could you do better? That's number one. And then number two is, wouldn't it be better to get if they're really a no, wouldn't it be better to get the no than to spend your time following up with someone who has no intention of ever buying from you?
Yeah, sure. I love what you said. Don't blame them for not understanding them. It's your job to help them understand and present them in a way that they get it so that they can make a decision. And so
Yeah.
let's say, I guess there's two scenarios. One is when I didn't do a good job. And the other one is it's a no. Now, how do we uncover what it is? Like, let's say that I came up with some BS excuse saying I need to talk to my cousin about my business, and I'll let you know.
So a lot of times that'll come up in the follow-up. You'll be able to decipher it in the follow-up, or you can ask some more questions like, well, what would make the difference between a yes or no? Like, what do you need to hear from your cousin to know that this is a good decision? Or when are you hoping? Sometimes they'll be like, I need 2 weeks. Can you check in with me in 2 weeks? And I'm like, sure, but what's the difference between now and 2 weeks from now? Like, I'm just curious, what's going to happen between now and 2 weeks from now that could change your decision? And sometimes it's something real, like, well, we're hoping to close on this big deal, and that would give us the funding and whatever, right? It's like, okay, cool. So what date should we check in? What time? Let's block it out right now, right? And other times they're stumped. They're like, oh, I'm just avoiding the decision right now. And it becomes very clear that they just are pushing it out so that they don't have to say no. And then it's your job to go back and say, look, like, I believe in my heart that we can help you. Of course, you can only say this if you believe it. If you don't believe it, then there's no point. But like, I believe in my heart that we can help you. And I know that having this product is going to make a difference, and it's going to save you money, decrease your costs, whatever it is that's going to help them win or profit. So that, so maybe we could continue the conversation and I could show you more, or could I connect you with a client that's just like you that has similar needs, and you could hear from them. Right. And that's kind of like you're throwing in the flag, like the Hail Mary, like, this is the last, opportunity.
For sure. So let's say we uncover, I want to do this and that, but sometimes they're like, no, I don't want to do it. Right? How do we react to that? How do we respond and recover when someone gives us a direct no?
Yeah.
And I still know that I can help them, and I still know that they have a problem that I can fix.
Okay. So if that's the case, then I would figure out some sort of way to keep them warm. And that may be through your follow-up sequence of like, how do we continue to add value so that when they are ready, they'll come to you. You may ask them, like, if they say no, sometimes I look at no as not right now. So what can I do between right now, this point in time where they've said no, and the time in which I think they'll buy? What can I do to help them get there? And oftentimes I just closed a sale. It's right now it's a 5-figure sale, but it will eventually be a 6-figure sale because we're doing a pilot. We just closed the end of last month that I've been working on since April of 2021. Think about that. Okay, that's more than a year that I have been following up with this person. We had like 90 emails, 90, going back and forth. I would respond. I would throw in humor. I mean, most people would have followed up, would have stopped following up, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
90 emails. Like, one thread alone had 54, and there were multiple different threads. And I really believed in my heart that even though they weren't ready at that moment in time, that we could help them. And so I wasn't going to give up. And I told him that I'm staying on you because I know we can help you. And he's like, okay. I'm like,
So
and then, sorry.
It took like a year and a half, or a year and a few months to close that deal.
Mm-hmm.
How much time did you put into those 90 emails, do you think?
Maybe 5 to 10 minutes an email of writing, and some of the emails more than others. Sometimes I would think, okay, how do I get back on his radar now and give him something of value right now and show him what we're doing for other companies? So maybe, I've never
10,
thought
15
about that.
hours?
How much?
10, 15 hours?
Oh, minimum. Yeah. Probably more, to be honest. Probably more.
Say 20 hours.
20. Yeah.
Yeah. But then now you have a 5-figure deal that is going to lead into a 6-figure deal. And maybe you're going to get a couple of referrals from them, and you never know how big that deal could actually be.
Right. I mean, that's, and the 5 figures, the first figure is not one, like it's pretty high up. So I mean, was it worth those 20 hours? Yes, because of the long-term ability. So finally, instead of saying no, he said, let's do a 3-month trial. Cool. A paid trial. Okay, cool. We'll show you what we've got in the next 90 days. We got this, this is so exciting. And that's another way to drop down to someone too. I know you're saying no right now. Okay, cool. Well, at least that's how I hear it in my head, even though you're saying no. So what about a smaller ask? What we were asking for was a 12-month contract. That would have been a 6-figure deal. What he gave us was a 3-month contract, right? What we agreed to eventually. So maybe you do something to show them the results that you can get them, and not for free, paid, but at a much smaller scale to get your foot in the door.
100%. I actually had some very similar conversation with a prospect last week. First, we're suggesting a 6-month commitment. Then it's like, oh, I'm not sure, blah, 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 blah. We're like, all right, what if we just do 3-month? They're like, all right, that's more doable. Let's do it 3-month, because I'm sure we could deliver results in 3 months. And so you make it more doable for them through that conversation.
Yes, and the key is exactly what you said. I'm sure I could deliver results in that amount of time. You have to set yourself up for success. So if you know that it takes at least 3 months to get results, don't tell them you'll do it for a month, because what's the point?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think what you're also doing is lowering their risk. How can you lower their risk to buy so that they can feel comfortable? And especially when someone's butt is on the line, they don't want to make the wrong decision. So they need to feel more comfortable with it. And when you can remove those risks, it makes it much easier for them to buy. For sure.
Wow, you have shared a ton of gold nuggets. This has been a value bomb. It's been great.
Thank you.
How and where can people find out more about you?
Yes, so I'm Jen Gitomer on Instagram. I'm Jennifer Gitomer on LinkedIn. You can go to jengitomer.com or jengitomer.com/make more money and get my free it's a free mini course on how to make more money by removing the obstacles that may be preventing you from making that money.
For sure. Yeah, the link is in there. The prosperity portal, go in there, get access to this mini course where you can it was a 3-day course.
Yeah, right? It's 3 lessons delivered, 1 lesson a day over 3 days.
Fantastic. And she helps you remove your money blocks and make more money, and it's free. So go there, go to jengitomer.com /make more money and get access to this free course. Now, Jen, can I ask you some personal questions?
Yes, of course.
Awesome. What's a new thing you have tried recently?
I've been trying a new serve in tennis.
Tennis. New serve in tennis. Oh, you're a tennis player.
Yes, I play almost every day. And my first serve is really good. My second serve is kind of dinky, so I've been trying a spin slice on my second serve.
How could they be different? I'm trying to figure out the first one and the second one.
So my first one's really hard and like I can ace people with it. It's really good. My second one, I just kind of want to get it in so we can play out the point, but then they can smash it back to us, right? Because I'm not going as hard. So they can hit it hard back. So now I'm trying to learn a second serve that I get confident in after enough practice.
Yeah.
And which, by the way, means taking out like 250 balls at a time in a basket and just practicing. And until I'm like, okay, I got this. So that's what I'm working on right now.
Love it. What are the top 2 favorite books of all time for you?
Think and Grow Rich and Dollars Flow Easily to Me.
Dollars Flow Easily to Me. Is that a mindset book?
I read that book almost every month, and it's a short read, really short read. You could read in like an hour and maybe a day, but every time I read it, every time you reread something, you have a new perspective in life and you pick up different things. And so I find I pick up something different every time.
Love it. Love it. Love it. I'm going to add it to my list and I'm going to read it.
Cool.
What's one advice that made a massive impact in your life or business?
Do something you love. I think a lot of people, who want to make money think that it has to be hard and or have some belief that, they have to work like a million hours and be a slave to their job and in order to be successful. And they end up like hating life essentially because their business life is unhappy. And I stayed at my former company for probably a year too long because it was the safe thing to do because I was making good money, right? It was a safe is relative, but safe thing to do. And starting a business is riskier, but I knew that I would love it. I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. And so when you do what you love, no days feel like work. Every day feels like a vacation day.
Absolutely. Love it. Love it. Love it. Jen, if you had a Facebook or a Google ad where everyone on the web around the world could see your message, what would your message be?
Ooh. It would be around what's the true thing holding you back from creating the time and financial freedom in your business? I can help you uncover it and give you the 2 things that you deserve.
Love it. What's the true thing holding you back from financial freedom?
Time and financial freedom. Because what people will say is, in order to make a lot of money, I need to work all the time. And then they become an entrepreneur and they're making money and they have no time. They don't have time to go to their kid's soccer game or their kid's ballet lesson or whatever it may be. And I find that if you become an entrepreneur, you're doing it for not just the money, but the time freedom. And so you get to have both.
Since you've been at this for a while, what are maybe 1 or 2 things that you usually see or hear people say to answer that question?
They don't believe they can have both. They've come to me after they've gotten a burnout and they now have adrenal fatigue and they've gotten sick from working all the time. And I help them realize that you can actually create a business around your life instead of creating your life around your business.
Wow.
And by the
Love it.
way, I didn't start out there. It took me to getting sick and working all the time to actually realize that, and now I take off in the middle of the day to play tennis, and I revolve my meetings around the things that I want to do, like going to my stepdaughter's volleyball games and whatever it may be. Right. And so I'm incorporating my life into my day.
Love it, love it, love it, love it. Yeah, we all have to experience that and get there. And then I guess getting support along the way from someone like yourself would make it a lot easier and faster, and make the results, much, much more doable, I guess. Jen, this has been an absolutely amazing conversation. Is there anything you'd like to add that we didn't get a chance to talk about before we wrap up?
Have fun. Have fun every day. We live in a community that is like a vacation community. So a lot of people who come here are actually coming on vacation, and they'll be like, have a great time, have a great week. And I'm like, oh, you too. But like, this is my life every day because I choose it, and you can choose it too.
Absolutely. Love it, love it, love it. Gang, if you're watching or listening, go to jengitomer.com/make more money. All one word, no dash, no hyphens, no spaces, just make more money. So it's jengitomer.com/make more money. Get access to Jen's gift to unblock your money issues and all the stuff that's stopping you from making more money in sales and growing your business. And do reach out if you need help with sales and everything around your money mindset and the rest of it. Jen is a gem, and as you've seen in the past hours, she shared a lot of golden nuggets from her wisdom and experience. So do reach out, say hi, and see what you guys could do together. You've been listening to Daily Confidence for Entrepreneurs. Thank you for joining us. This was episode 105, and I look forward to seeing you later. Bye now.